Hi, welcome to Acts Daily. It's Pastor Dan, and here are some of my reflections over this last week as we listened to chapters in the book of Acts. First of all, in Acts chapter 17, starting in verse 22, we hear these words when Paul is addressing the people in Athens. So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, "Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription: To the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you: the God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor is he served by human hands, as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. He has made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. Yet he actually is not far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being, as some of you, your own poets, have said, for we are indeed his offspring." See, what St. Paul does is that he goes into the midst of this community and he looks and he listens and he sees the ways in which he can find different opportunities to share the good news of Jesus in ways the people will understand. He finds this unknown God and he says, "Hey, you don't know of this God, but I know a God you don't know." And he shares. And again, this encourages us to be people who look and listen and see ways in which we can begin to communicate who Jesus is in the lives of other people. Now, Paul also uh, speaks in this chapter about people who respond. And we hear this in Acts chapter 17, verses 32 through 34. Now, when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, but others said, "We will hear you about this." So Paul went out from their midst, but some men joined him and believed, among whom also were Dionysius, the Areopagite, and a woman named Damaris, and others with them. See, people believed, but other people mocked. This is the result. And what's really at stake here? The resurrection of the dead. I mean, this is really the center of the Christian faith. Did this Jesus who died on a cross, everybody believes that happened. Did he resurrect from the dead? Our Christian hope, when we look at Jesus, we see our future as people who believe. And as we go a little farther in the chapters of Acts we listen to, we hear this again in Acts chapter 23, verses 6 and 7, where it says, "Now St. Paul perceived that one part of the Sadducees and the one part other Pharisees. He cried out in the council, 'Brothers, I am a Pharisee, a son of Pharisees. It is with respect to the hope of the resurrection of the dead that I am on trial.' And when he said this, a dissension arose between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided." The resurrection of the dead. Paul says, be really clear. This is what I'm talking about. And that's what's shaking everybody up. So just to remember, as Christians, that's what hinges everything together. Our hope, our future in Jesus. And the fact he died for sin to restore people to relationship with God. But all of that is true. How? Because he rose from the dead and tells us about it. All right, well, these are two reflections for this week. I hope you enjoyed listening and enjoy listening next week. All right, see ya.